Welcome back to Newsmax Now. Secretary of State John Kerry continues to fight back criticism over the Iran nuclear deal. This morning, Kerry insisted UN inspectors will have plenty of time to detect if Iran cheats. But our next guest says another country may get something out of this Iran deal too, something that the U.S. should be very concerned about. And joining us live now to discuss this in more detail is Washington Times columnist Todd Wood. Thanks so much for joining us here on Newsmax Now. Always good to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it.
Todd, before we get to your article, I want to address what Kerry actually said. He says he's confident with our intelligence community, saying that 24 days is just not enough time for Iran to evade our technical means. In other words, if Iran cheats, we will know. Should we be as equally confident in his response?
I think that's frankly just ridiculous. I mean, we've missed so much intelligence-wise over the last several years and decades that I don't think anyone can make that statement confidently. I think he has an agenda that he's trying to sell, and obviously they wanted this deal at any cost, and they got it at a great cost.
And let's talk about that cost. You have a new column that's out right now. In it, you say Russia expects something out of the Iran deal too. Quote, Russia seems to have negotiated a sweetener as well with the American appeaser-in-chief. What's the sweetener you're referring to here?
Well, it didn't get a lot of press at the time, but in April, Secretary Kerry went to Sochi, Russia, where the Olympics were held, to meet with Russian President Putin. And there was not a lot of talk about what was discussed afterwards, but looking back on that, I can't help but wonder if there was some type of grand bargain put together between the two in the Iran talks, which, Russia is a part of. After that, the Russian troops and pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine backed off cities such as Mariupol, which is on the way to Crimea. And I can't help but wonder if the deal that was put together would be that Russia would get an alleviation of American missile defenses in Europe in exchange for basically helping get the Iran deal pushed through. Right after the Iran deal was signed, the Russian Foreign Ministry came out and said, we expect missile defenses to be removed from Europe because they were put in place to counter rogue states like Iran. NATO says they're not going to do that, but since Obama pulled them out of Poland and other Eastern European nations when he came into office, land-based interceptors, they've been put on ships. So the ships can be easily moved, and I guess we will see what happens.
All right. Todd Wood, thank you so much for joining us. We will see what happens. Always good to have you.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Well. Interesting. And, last week, hearing that apparently Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama spoke on the phone twice about who knows what.
It could have been the mission. That's being optimistic, right? You think that's being naive. It was a historical moment, though.
Well, what kind of historical moment? Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Donald Trump, meantime, continuing to rise in the polls. The Washington Post says Trump should be thanking Univision for the bump after the network called him out for comments he made on illegal immigration.
Yeah, at this point, I would say it looks like Trump is all but guaranteed a spot, wouldn't you say, John, on the debate stage?
Yeah, I mean, poll after poll shows him. We had a new one from Fox News a few moments ago showing Donald Trump in the lead of that poll.
18%, right?
And what's almost interesting to see, is the GOP establishment is so confounded by Donald Trump's success. He's tapped into something that every single one of these candidates has been looking for. Of course, they have all been doing their focus groups, their testing, and they've yet to find it. And interesting also, we talked about Donald Trump's campaign finance report this week. He's spending very little money and raising very little money right now. All the publicity he's getting is free. He's getting a free ride on...
Right. Well, he knows how to say something that's going to grab attention. I mean, he is...
And we've had numerous people on this show, pundits, say that this cannot last, but here we are another Friday. Donald Trump ahead in the polls. We will see. Also, another soundbite that... generated a lot of discussion. Donald Trump laying into John McCain after McCain said that Trump, quote, fired up the crazies in Arizona. Trump went to Twitter demanding McCain apologize, saying this, quote, thousands of people that showed up for me in Phoenix were amazing Americans. McCain called them crazies, must apologize.
This is kind of weird because at one time when McCain was actually running, Trump kind of came to his defense, calling him a pretty smart guy. I mean, they seem to get along pretty well, and wow, how
Trump
times
also
changed.
made sure he highlighted the fact that everybody knew that John McCain graduated last in his class when he was at the Naval Academy, and
But
then
it's
called him a
interesting
dummy.
because he talked about how smart he was back in 2008.
Well, we could have a whole other discussion about things Trump said then that he doesn't say
now, right?
Yeah.
All right. Do we have time for this? I'm going to ask Sarah. Do we have time? We don't have time. Okay, we're going to talk about that Donald Trump and
Well, the bet's
Lawrence
off.
O'Donnell
Lawrence
bet. So the
O'Donnell.
bet's off.
The bet's
so
off.
Lawrence gets to keep his salary for now. All right, so much more to come here on Newsmax Now. We're going to have our roundtable coming up. That should be interesting.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about the shootings in Chattanooga and specifically focusing on the victims here, the ones that were identified today. More coming ahead after this.